Topping today's news, parliamentarians debate and pass bills that will transform education. The F&M does not support the acquisition of the Grand Bahama Power Company. The U.S. Embassy urging the government to ensure justice for the American shot and killed by an off-duty police officer. And the Prime Minister gives more hints on the pending date for the general election. Good evening, Bahamas, and wherever you're watching from around the world. This is JCN News. I'm Jareno Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Monday in Parliament, members debated and passed 3 education-related bills, which the Minister of Education, Glenys Hannah Martin, says are expected to modernize the education system, especially the lead piece of legislation, the Education Bill 2026.
This bill replaces an outdated framework with legislation that reflects how children learn today, how families engage with education, how technology has transformed access to learning, how the nation must prepare young people for life, work, and citizenship in the 21st century. Above all, this bill affirms a simple but powerful principle. Every child in the Bahamas deserves a quality education, regardless of where or how that education is delivered. One of the most transformative features of this bill is its clear focus on learning outcomes, mandating grade-level measurement. The Education Bill 2026 establishes that education in the Bahamas is no longer defined merely by seat time, attendance, physical location. Instead, it is defined by what students are expected to know, understand, and be able to do at each stage of their education. These learning outcomes apply across public schools, independent schools, home education, and virtual learning. They will guide curriculum development, assessment, and reporting, provide parents with clarity and confidence about their child's progress. This approach ensures consistency, quality, and accountability, while still allowing flexibility in how learning is delivered. Madam Speaker, this is how we ensure that no child falls through the cracks, regardless of their circumstance.
Another important aspect of the new legislation is that instead of 5 years old, children will now begin primary school at age 4.
Another critical component of this bill is that it formally establishes pre-primary education as a compulsory stage of schooling in the Bahamas. 4-year-olds are now included for compulsory school attendance. The compulsory age, therefore, is now 4 years old. This provision recognizes what educators, parents, and researchers have long known. The early years are critical. Learning gaps formed early are difficult to reverse. Early investment delivers lifelong benefits. By making pre-primary education compulsory, this bill confirms that early childhood education is not optional. It ensures that all children enter primary school with foundational skills in language, early numeracy, social development, learning readiness. The bill also strengthens oversight and standards in pre-primary institutions, protecting both children and families.
The other 2 bills include the Early Childhood Care Commission Bill 2026 and the National Youth Commission Bill 2026. Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard says while the opposition supports the bills, it is unfair for the government to suggest that the education transformation happened only under this administration and not a continuation of work by previous administrations.
For the record, in short, Free National Movement support these 3 bills. We applaud all of the Ministry of Education staff, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture staff, those who have worked over successive administrations to ensure that these bills make it to this House of Assembly. We commend the Minister of Education, the member for Angliston, in completing this phase of the relay in ensuring that these bills come to this House and are unanimously supported. We acknowledge that both administrations have played a pivotal role in working on transforming our system. The bill is important. The potential is transformative, because at the end of the day, it really depends on what we do in the execution.
In other news from the Parliament on Monday, the Minister for Grand Bahama, Ginger Moxie, tabled 2 resolutions to purchase the majority shares in the Grand Bahama Power Company through a special purpose vehicle named the Grand Bahama Electricity Company Limited. The government is seeking to borrow some $280 million total to make the purchase and cover operational expenses during the transition. But F&M leader Michael Pintard says it is risky and comes on top of an already staggering debt burden in the electricity sector. Mr. Pintard said before adding hundreds of millions more in guarantees, the government needs to explain why it is still struggling to deliver affordable, reliable power through Bahama's Power and Light after already investing some $800 million there. He also asked how was the purchase price determined and what debts and obligations come with the purchase of the Grand Bahama Power Company. The government are yet to answer his questions. The U.S. Embassy has issued a statement following the shooting death of an American citizen who was an employee of Pike Corporation out of North Carolina. The incident took place on Saturday around 6 p.m. when the deceased male was shot by an off-duty police officer following an argument that began inside a popular restaurant and bar on West Bay Street and ended in the parking lot. It is unclear what initiated the argument, but the officer claimed that the man tried to run him over with a vehicle and he was in fear of his life. However, in a written statement, the U.S. Embassy said, quote, "We are closely following the case of the shooting death of a U.S. citizen by an off-duty police officer last weekend. We note with deepest concern media reports that the officer followed the unarmed victim to his vehicle before fatally shooting him. We urge the government of the Bahamas to ensure the victim receives justice in this case without delay," end quote. Although full details of that incident and another fatal police-involved shooting that took place around 1 a.m. on Monday morning on Village Road, they are not yet clear, the Minister for National Security, Wayne Munro, says both police officers and private citizens have the legal right to defend themselves, but noted that under the law, the use of force must be justified based on the level of threat.
If somebody attacks you with a cutlass, not only the police, but a private citizen has a right to defend themselves. I don't know what the injuries are for the officer. I'm told that he is in hospital with injuries. I'm told that the gentleman in the plantation injury incident does not have injuries. It will depend on the threat that faces you. It's governed by what is justifiable force set out in the penal code. And so, as I say, the police will investigate. If they find that there's cause to levy criminal charges, they will levy criminal charges, as they did, for instance, against the police officer who shot and killed a young man in Exuma.
Authorities say once investigations are completed, findings will be forwarded to the courts to determine whether any criminal charges are warranted. Both matters are still under investigation. Finally, in this segment, Prime Minister Philip Davis is ramping up political momentum, signaling the country could be inching closer to a general election. While addressing supporters at the opening of the Leon Lundy branch office in Central and South Andros over the weekend, Prime Minister Davis struck a campaign tone encouraging supporters to prepare while shutting down any notion of an easy victory.
We are on election watch. The bell is being shined, and it will be rung very shortly. This is all hands on deck time. Yes. There's no time for complacency. This is time for knocking on doors. Yes. This is phone calling time. Yes. This is voter transfer time. This is voter registration time. Yes. This is branch mobilization time. This is settlement by settlement, household by household, street by street work. Because elections are lost when supporters begin to act like victory already belongs to them. That's true. Victory belongs to the side that stays hungry.
Prime Minister Davis's remarks come amid growing political anticipation nationwide, with his message making it clear that regardless of polling trends, the focus for the governing party now is on organization, discipline, and sustained efforts on the ground. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back following these commercials.